really clear that up.
Okay.
So.
All right. Any questions of the board for the applicant? Okay. Do we have anyone here in either support or opposition today? I know you're sitting with her. I don't know if you've got anything to add. Okay. All right. Well, like I said, from a staff standpoint, do we believe we need a time period for a review for fire code and other building code requirements?
Well, in our initial discussion with the building and fire code representatives, they did indicate that they thought that there could be a change of use issue, given that the building was used as a parish hall and is now being maybe used as a school. So before they can make a final determination, they would need to get more information from the applicant. So if the board approved it, they would still have to go through that process.
That's true. Okay. All right. Any questions of the board? All right. That's one of these, either you do it before or you do it after the board makes a decision. And with the staff recommending it being held over, I'm inclined to recommend that, just to kind of work out those details so we don't have to try to do it at a later time.
Okay.
So the chair makes a motion to hold it over till the next meeting to give you opportunities to work with the building officials. Chair, request a second. I have a second. Any further discussion?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Next month is enough time for you.
I hope so, but I've never made that phone call, so I guess we'll have to look and send some donuts.
The only thing about this is you have another holiday in the mix.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Any further questions? I have a motion with a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the holdover, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, sir.
All right. See you next month. This is application 6390, 158 Himley Avenue. Good afternoon. Your name and
Hey, how
address,
are
sir?
you? Corey Bronenkamp, 3975 Pine Brook Drive.
All right, and you're one of the few that's in recommended for denial, so you want to tell us why we got to consider otherwise.
Yes, sir. So I purchased this house, and it currently has it had a tenant in it. The tenant moved out, and the back of the yard has a 1,000 square foot, what used to be a garage apartment. And when I went through it, I learned that there had been some plumbing work done to it and some electrical and fixtures. And I recently went through the non-conforming use with the city and was approved on a different property off of Gorgas. But I didn't think this one would qualify, so I wanted to go through the use variance. I'm working on, so Hemley Avenue, I own this house. I have another house under contract, and I'm looking at a few more houses along that street. And there's a lot of dilapidated houses along that street, and so just trying to do as much as I can to clean up the area and provide more housing opportunities. This back garage apartment could use some love. Again, it's 1,000 square feet, and the front dwelling is 1,000 square feet. And so as it goes with a lot of these areas, uninhabited dwellings bring unwelcome guests. And so my solution to that was to make it a garage apartment for a single individual to live there. I've spoken to the neighbor to the south, I've spoken to the neighbor to the north, and then the church across the street, and all of them are in favor of the project. And so just looking to make it official and get that use variance so that I can make that a garage apartment for a person to occupy that dwelling.
Okay, any questions of the board? When you went to purchase this property, were you aware of the condition of the garage apartment? Or did you look at it as just a single residential opportunity?
Yes, sir. So when I purchased it, it had a tenant in it, so my limits of investigation were a little bit limited. I know the tenant didn't use it, and my new tenant currently doesn't use it. So I didn't really see it as an opportunity to make it into a garage apartment until I went through it and noticed that there was some plumbing and electrical and some fixtures back there. And so I actually did a rendering, or just an elevation, of what it might look like just with some windows and a door. And one of the neighbor to the south, Mr. Ron, he actually, one of his, I guess, objections was just parking. So I worked with him to come up with a plan on how we could allow both units to park, or all three units, his unit and the one to the north and then the back unit.
Okay. All right. Any questions of the board? All right. Do we have anyone in the audience either in favor or opposition today to this application? Okay. Do we have communications on this?
We do have an email from a neighbor in support.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Oh, excuse me. Well, I do have a question,
Yes, sir.
because it's in line with the staff's recommendation. Do you want to tell us why you feel there's a hardship with the property? To not utilize it
Yes,
just
sir.
as a
So
garage?
the hardship is based on the last tenant and this current tenant. They don't use the garage. And so I mean, I could throw a fence up around it and get a fence permit and call it a day, but that seems to be an eyesore just leaving that dwelling. I'd rather breathe life into it and provide an affordable housing unit for someone who needs it.
Okay. All right. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
How does this fit into the new UDC as far as ancillary dwellings? I know we've had a lot of these, more on the mother-in-law suite type.
Well, if the UDC gets passed in its current proposed form, secondary dwelling units are going to generally be allowed in R1 and R2 single-family districts. So this could be in line with the proposed Unified Development Code.
Sir, I have one more question for you.
Yes, sir.
The utilities
Yes,
for
sir.
this site, are they separate or are they,
They're going to be separate. Yes, sir.
they're not current?
They're not currently.
So there's not a separate meter on this
No, sir.
facility?
And if it was separately metered, that would probably give me a pretty good stance to do the non-conforming use through the planning, just to staff level. But since it was not, that required me to go through here and,
And you found what, plumbing, you said?
yes, sir.
Did you
There's
find any other utilities?
water lines, there's electric, there's sink outside of, and the utilities are back there, but it wasn't.
Was there a bathroom?
No, sir.
Okay.
Maybe at one time, but at that, I mean, a lot of it had probably been taken, but, because the garage doors when I had gotten to this property were not secured or anything like that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Staff's recommending for denial. The applicant's stated his case. And I don't know, based on our more recent applications for ancillary dwellings, I'm not sure how far out of line this is.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval.
Okay, I have a motion to approve. Have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
And chair votes to deny, but it's passed. You've got quorum and therefore it passed.
Thank you.
All right, next application is 6391, 6371. And this is 350 St. Joseph Street. Yes? Your name and address, please.
Jacqueline Jadwin, 6170 Omni Park Drive, Suite C.
Okay, and your application has been recommended for approval. Have you seen the staff's comments and requirements?
Yes, we're in agreement.
And you're in agreement with those?
Yes.
Okay. No, there's an after-the-fact fence permit. So that takes me to believe that you've already got a fence up?
We got involved in the project after the fence and everything was already up, so we put in a variance to, instead of making them remove the front portion to be 4 foot, to allow the 6 foot for the full fence.
Okay, is there any similar fences in the joining properties or?
There's some chain link fence across the street, at, I think it's the parking right across from it. This is a iron 6 foot fence that is on our property, and it's going to be surrounding the parking lot area into that north side of it.
Okay. From traffic, have you looked at this to see if it interferes?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I have. There's a lot of areas on Water Street where you have to kind of pull out a little farther than the stop bar, but you can see. So it's acceptable.
Okay. Any questions of the board for the applicant? Do we have any communications regarding this application?
No, sir, we do not.
Okay. Do we have anyone in the audience either in favor or opposition today? Okay. I would say this concludes our public hearing. Staff's recommended for approval. The applicant is in agreement with the requirements. Chair, entertain a motion.
So move, Mr. Chair.
And both are subject to staff's requirements?
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. Have a good day. Yes, sir. Yeah. We're going to take maybe a 1-2 minute recess just to give one of our members an opportunity to get some water. Anyone else needs to take a recess? Okay. Let's see, how many room we got?
Mr. Chairman, just to let you know, a representative for the Scott Services application has arrived.
Oh, okay, we're good. Well, you're the representative? Okay, we're gonna let you wait till the end now. Everyone else has had the opportunity to sit through all this, so it'll be your turn. All right, everyone, we're going to reconvene here. All members are present. 2156 Costarides Street, application 6392, 2014, 1960. Is the applicant here? If you'll come down to the podium, please.
Sophia Robinson, 2156 Costarides.
Well, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
In your application, the staff's recommended approval subject to some conditions. Have you reviewed the conditions?
Yes, sir, I have.
And are you in agreement with those conditions?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions of the board for the applicant? Do we have any communications from anyone in the community regarding this application?
No, sir, we do not.
Okay. All right, it's recommended for approval, subject to several conditions of the staff, comments, and then, do we have anyone in the audience that's either in support or opposition? All right. Okay. All right, well, thank you. This will conclude our public hearing on the application. Chair entertain a motion.
Chairman, I'd like to motion to approve
Subject to,
this. Approval subject to staff recommendation.
okay, I have a motion to approve, subject to staff recommendations. I have a second. Yes. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. Good
Thank
luck to
you. Thank you.
All right, this is 6393, 2810 Harper Avenue. Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Cole? Oh, yeah. Did you hear the board's requirement? He says you got to have jazz on Sunday. I don't think they heard your requirement. Yeah, thank you. Your name and address, please.
My name is Andretta Kidd. I'm here on behalf of my husband, Darius Kidd, at 4480 Winchester Road.
Okay, and this application has been recommended for denial by the staff. You want to tell us why we should consider otherwise?
Yes, I'm trying to open the business for the community to better uplift the business. I've had that property for going on 10 years now without doing anything with it. I've recently trying to establish a career. I went to Virginia College, and it inadvertently closed down on me a month before I finished. And so I've been trying to figure out new avenues to do to make a living, and I decided that selling hot dogs would be beneficial because it's something easy to do, and in the area that it's in is located right near schools, and it has a community, I'm sorry, I just said it has a park down the street, and I would like to be a part of the community by sponsoring baseball teams and everything else. A lot of people don't have cars, and it's just somewhere convenient for them to go. I tried to get it started, and I put the building down there already. I went through numerous avenues trying to see what I had to do to get it legit down there. I tried to apply for a business license. I was told that they had to be able to come in and inspect it. I didn't have anything for them to inspect, so I put the building down there and I started trying to get permits to get a business that I could have inspected for to get my business license started. And so in doing that, when I started applying for applications, I was getting told to go to different avenues. I put in several requests, and then finally I got to where someone told me that I had to apply for a variance. So then I started doing everything I had to do to get the variance in order, and I came down here, and it took me a little while because I had to get blueprints and surveys and all that. And now I have that, and I'm just trying to figure out what do I have to do now to possibly be able to move forward with my business.
Okay. And you currently have a portable building on site, or you do not?
I do.
Okay. And you have running utilities, water, all those things for sanitation?
No, not at this moment. Nothing has ever been on that property before, and so that's why I was going through all of the steps I had to do to get everything done. I had someone to put up a temporary power pole to start trying to get those things going, and I was told once I get the power pole, I could talk to the people at the water company to see what I had to do to get the plumbing running.
Okay. Any questions of the board for the applicant?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
How do the neighbors do?
My neighbor directly next door to the business, he's all on board. I talked to other neighbors around I talked to other people in the neighborhood, and everyone is just basically asking me what's taking so long. Yes.
Okay. That's what I was going to ask. Have we had any communications from the community about this?
We did receive one email against it.
Okay. And you say you've owned this property for 10 years?
Yes.
And it was just a lot that didn't have anything on it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I guess you chose to approach it this way versus maybe a food truck or some other process by which you could conduct the business you're looking?
Yes, I wanted something more stable than the food truck, and then I already have the property and it's just sitting there, I'm just paying taxes on it, so it would be something that would be all the way mine, instead of something that's mobile that I have to try to ride around in.
Can you show a drawing that shows the neighborhood? Oh, back where you are, right there.
And actually, the area that's right on side of it to the left, behind the church, they actually already own that property. They turned that into a parking lot. It was half of the property that I own.
So there's a parking lot between you and the church.
Yes.
Okay. Go back to the previous, please. So you're surrounded by residential other than the church.
Yes.
And you say there's a park nearby?
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right, well, thank you. Once again, any questions of the board for the applicant?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I've received a lot of phone calls. You said you had spoken with your neighbor.
Yes, sir. Not the whole community, just certain members that I have came across and talked to, but not the whole community, no, sir.
I'm inclined at this point to vote against this, but I would, if the board agrees, I would recommend that you do it to the community trying to do. Although there's been one law registered here in opposition, but I'm in law. So I just want to get the heads up and all fair.
Okay. Okay.
You observed the previous, one of the earlier applications for a catering,
Yes, sir.
where you see what happened with the neighborhood, that there was some opposition for the same reason. You're taking a residential and turning it into a business function. And I mean, there's a lot of vacant property there. I see that, so.
And again, I was,
One of the opportunities we gave that applicant was for a holdover for them to meet with the community to
Okay.
come work out those details. And especially since Mr. Davis is receiving these kind of calls, that tells me you may not have reached out to all the right people, or your husband, I should say.
okay.
So you have the same opportunity we give that applicant to hold it over, to give that community time to work with you and your husband to address any issues, if that's something you would request at this time.
Yes, that is something that I would request. Like I said, I'm very new to this. I didn't know anything about going about it to get it started, but I'm very open into talking to the community and seeing what I could do to move forward.
Okay. All right.
Mr.
So, yes.
Mr. Chairman, I can't help but wonder, I mean, I don't know, just don't feel like a variance is the avenue, that this is a rezoning. I mean, it's a blank piece of property in a neighborhood that could be a single-family dwelling as zoned, and I just don't, there's nothing for us to offer a variance on. It needs to be rezoned, and that's my opinion, but
I'll just follow up, and that's the one thing I want to say that just seemed different in this one, and I commend your efforts in trying to get something going, but just looking at that neighborhood, outside of just the neighborhood opposition, it seems like you're different than the previous one, is you're putting, an actual business on the site that has a commercial building, and is, seems not as limited as what was before. And so I think just we need to be cautious as a board comparing it, I think, to the previous application, because it seems like to me it's more of putting a actual business in the middle of a neighborhood from what I can see. I don't see any commercial around it at all. So those are just my comments.
I'll clarify. The chair was not making a comparison of this application to the previous. I was giving you the same opportunity that we gave the previous applicant, that if there was community opposition, they needed the time to meet with the community, that I felt that that was not uncommon with the previous application.
I understood that, yes, sir.
So I don't want to compare, because hardship and applications are site-specific. They're not, we're not supposed to look at every one of them as if they're one wholesale.
Right.
Okay. All right, so are you requesting now, at this point, for a holdover or a request?
Yes, I am.
Okay. 60 days or 30 days?
60.
60, okay. All right. Anyone, once again, in the audience, either in favor or opposition? And we had one comment that was in opposition that's been recorded. All right. The applicant's requesting a holdover for 60 days. Chair, entertain a motion. I have a motion for a holdover. Do I have a second? Okay. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Wait, hold on. Any further comments?
Are you aware who that person is that legislative people against you? Because I think you really need to talk to that person, because you already have one strike going on. So each of your favor to have one person.
Okay, because that's what I was going to ask too also. Do I use the names that I put in to use those people to talk to about getting my variance?
Well, I would suggest you reach out to the staff for a determination of what your community is, who, and Mr. Davis here has obviously received several. I'm sure they see the sign, and therefore that's
Yes.
how they know that there's something being requested for that property.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Davis, any further questions or comments? Any other of the board? All right, I have a motion to approve a holdover with a second for 60 days. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion
Thank you.
carries. Thank you. All right, application 6394, 2013, 133 Eaton Square. Good afternoon. Your name and address, please.
Melly Noblet, 133 Eaton Square.
Okay, and your application's been recommended for approval, subject to conditions. Are you in agreement with those conditions?
I am.
Okay. Any questions of the board for the applicant? All right, have we had any communications regarding this application?
Yes, sir, we had emails and online comments all in support.
Okay. All right. Anyone in the audience that's not in favor of the application that's present? We got one in support. All right, I would say that concludes our public hearing on this application. Thank you.
Thank you.
Staff's recommended for approval. The applicant is in agreement with staff's requirements and recommendation. Chair, entertain a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Thank you for your time. All right, we're back to, I think, number 2 on the agenda. This is 64 North Royal Street, Scott Services Company. Your name and address, sir?
James Joyner, 5601 Brook Drive, 8 Mile, Alabama.
All right, and the staff's recommended for approval. Have you reviewed the staff's requirements?
I have.
And you're in agreement with those?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions of the board for the applicant? Have we had any communications regarding this application?
No, sir, we have not.
All right, thank you. Do we have anyone in the audience either in favor or opposition, regarding this application? All right, we have none for the record. This will conclude our public hearing on this application. The applicant's in agreement with staff's recommendation for approval with conditions. Chair entertain a motion.
So moved.
I have a motion to approve, subject to staff's conditions.
Yes.
And do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have one last item on the agenda, which is the meeting schedule. If you all will take a quick look at that, see if there's anything on there that you see might be a problem. All right, Chair entertain a motion to approve the schedule.
So moved.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second? I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the schedule, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, approved. Do we have any business for the record? I know we don't have Mr. Anderson here.
None that I'm aware of, sir.
Okay, if we can, if we have any indication he's not going to be here next time, I would strongly request we get an alternate, just in case we should ever need their representation or guidance.
We didn't know until the meeting.
Yeah,
that
I
he wasn't gonna
understand
be
that, yeah. About 5 minutes beforehand, I think.
Or when Lewis had come in from staff. What'd you say?
here. We didn't know that Mr. Anderson was not going to be present until just before the meeting.
Okay. All right, motion to adjourn? All right, thank you all. Have a good day.